Welcome everyone to OA Week 2025. We'll get started in just 1 minute or so to give people more time to join the webinar. Thank you. Welcome again, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the final day of OA Week 2025. My name is Courtney Witkowski, and I'm a GOA-ON Secretariat member. Please note that this session is being recorded. OA Week is presented by 4 sponsoring organizations. First, GOA-ON, the Global Ocean Acidification Observing Network. Second, NOAA, the United States National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Third, the IAEA OAICC, the International Atomic Energy Agency, Ocean Acidification International Coordination Center. And last but not least, the IOC, the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. GOA-ON was established in 2012 with just a handful of members. Since then, GOA-ON has grown immensely. We now have over 1,200 members from over 110 countries. GOA-ON consists of 11 regional hubs, which span across continents and oceanographic regions. It's been really exciting to hear from most of the hubs throughout OA Week. And of course, today's session was organized by the OA Africa Hub. If you're not a member yet, you can join GOA-ON today by visiting our website at goa-on.org. OA Week debuted in 2020 and returned in 2021 when the events and conferences were postponed due to COVID-19. Following the successful in-person symposium on the ocean and the high CO2 world in 2022, OA Week has become an annual event to maintain momentum around OA research and provide a virtual platform for the ocean acidification community to exchange their latest findings. We're thrilled to present a wide range of ocean acidification topics and speakers from around the world. A few notes on housekeeping. During the presentations, all participants are in listen-only mode. Throughout the presentations, you are welcome to type any questions into the questions box, which can be found at the bottom of the control panel on your screen. We'll be monitoring incoming questions and we'll pose those to our speakers during the question and answer section at the end of the session. And during that discussion time, you can also use the raise hand function in the toolbox at the bottom of your screen, and we can call on you to answer your question, to ask your question directly. And with that, I would like to start things off by introducing you to your moderators for this session. Today's session will be moderated by the 3 co-chairs of the OA Africa Hub. We have Sheck Sherif from Liberia, Roshan Ramessur from Mauritius, and Nayrah Shaltout from Egypt. And with that, I will hand things over to Sheck.
Thank you for the introduction, Courtney. And to our audience for tuning in around the globe. This session is titled Turning Science into Policy, Advancing Ocean Acidification Action in Africa. Just a moment. So we welcome you all, listening audience, to this historic dialogue. As we are all aware, ocean acidification poses an urgent threat to Africa's coastal communities, marine ecosystems, and food security. Yet, our continent innovative partnerships are emerging, bridging science, policy, and community action. Today's session brings together regional leaders, researchers, and policymakers to share lessons, identify priorities, and chart a collaborative path forward that will be demonstrated from some of the presentations from our wonderful speakers today. Your session hosts are Roshan from Mauritius, Nayrah Shaltout from Egypt, and myself, Sheck Sherif from Liberia, who are all also co-chairs of the Ocean Acidification Africa Network. It is also important to note before moving further to discuss why this session actually matters. Africa, for example, has over 40,000 kilometers of coastline. It's critical. Our marine resources are very critical to food security globally, not only for African stakeholders and the public spaces, since small-scale fisheries provide up to 65% of animal protein, which are the cheapest source of animal protein globally, as per the FAO recent World Fisheries Report. Growing scientific capacity, African-led research is revealing regional specific impacts and identifying local relevant solutions. Of course, there is a policy gap. So what this session is intending to do for the longest term is to ensure that the policy gap is closed from what data set or data gap that the OE-Africa and the Global Ocean Acidification Observing Networking Community presents. So despite mounting evidence, ocean acidification remains underrepresented in national and regional climate. And over the next years, months or so to come, these will actually be a closer outlook in terms of presenting or eliminating those gaps. What are the objectives? I think Koenig, our previous speaker, spoke about the overall overarching objective of the Africa Week. But specifically to this session, we are going to be sharing the regional action plans, the experience from the Western Indian Ocean region, presenting cutting-edge science research from our colleagues in Benin, or also highlighting successful partnerships that is going to be demonstrated by the Environmental Protection Agency, researchers, and our from the United Methodist University collaboration that are generating action advocacy priorities, and we look forward to hearing from our co-host and co-chair Nayrah at the end of the session. Hopefully, there will be she's going to be presenting insights into this area. And most importantly, but not the least, there is going to be a highlight of fostering cross-regional collaboration and building on
Hi, Sheck. Unfortunately, I think we lost your sound a little. Maybe if you keep your video off, it may help a little. Okay, I can see your slide, Sheck, but I can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
We continue. So today, joining is going to include 4 presentations from different parts of the region, the African region. We have colleagues from Liberia, colleagues from Tanzania, colleagues from Benin, and of course, Nigeria. So today is going to provide a spotlight for model partnership. There has been a lot of research in the area of ocean acidification over the last decade globally. Of course, there has been identified huge data gap in the West African and the rest of the African region. But with those data gradually being available, there is a need to start the discussion on how this data can be translated into an actionable policy framework to impact the public and those of us that directly depend, I mean, the coastal states for the African region that depend on these marine resources that have been impacted by the acidity of the ocean or warming of the ocean or increase in other OA parameters. So I think it's going to be a very good highlight from the Environmental Protection Agency, the United Methodist University partnership that is going to be stressing out on a work that was done supported by the Ocean Foundation. And with those data sets being analyzed and highlights will be shared to demonstrate that actionable model. So from local to regional impact, I think this will be our focus. Community research, we'll talk about ground truth data collection with local fishing communities. There's not a lot of work in this area that has been done. So hopefully we look forward to see what such a partnership between our Liberian counterparts is going to be presenting to us. There will also be scientific analysis, rigorous examination of vulnerability and adaptation. So hopefully we are going to hear a lot from our colleagues from Benin and Tanzania about this, and also policy integration, translation into national strategies. Our colleague from Nigeria also want to be speaking on that, and we'll also talk about, we're going to be speaking about or listening to our colleagues on regional scaling. So yeah, your voice matters, and we hope that we're going to have a rich and helpful discussion and how to push this agenda further. I know during the week there has been a lot of discussion and presentations on different data sets on how to interpret the impact of ocean acidification, but also there's a need to start these discussions about actionable outcomes on how this data translate to actual policy substances to help promote interagency collaboration and supporting or driving national policy action. So this is a science policy bridge that we are all building together, and thanks again, and we will look forward to hearing from our on this note. And I will continue by speaking to each speaker for this session. And we ask that they will be provided 15-minute presentation. Time the presentation, the minutes will be 15, and we will hold all questions until the end of your 15-minute discussion as a group. With that, we can begin with our first speaker. I don't know whether has Josh joined us?
Yes, I'm available.
Okay, thank you very much. So I would like to introduce Rushingisha Josh. Dr. Rushingisha Josh is a senior research scientist at the Tanzania Fisheries Research Institute. His research focuses on understanding the impacts of climate change on the marine environment of the Western Indian Ocean. In particular, he leads Ocean Acidification Monitoring Program in Tanzania, which he initiated in 2019. Dr. George, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I think I should be able to share my screen.
Yes, that looks great.
Yes. Do you hear me?
Yes, take it away.
Yeah, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share my views, and based on the topic, priority actions to combat ocean acidification in the Western Indian Ocean. These are just insights from the Western Indian Ocean Action Plan that I participated in developing it, and it was endorsed by member states during the 13th GOA-ON Symposium, and it's online for public use. As I was introduced, my name is Rushingisha George. I work with the Tanzania Fisheries Research Institute as a senior research scientist, but of course, interested on understanding climate change impacts, but also including issues related to ocean acidification, ocean warming, and others. To start with, the Western Indian Ocean is familiar to most of you. And in that matter, the action plan also focused on these 9 member states, from Somalia going down to the Union. And the impact of climate change is familiar to most of you, and of course can be observed in terms of ocean warming, ocean acidification, deoxygenation, and the others. And of course, these are global issues. And the development of the Ocean Region Ocean Acidification Action Plan, I think, is began, or it was directives from the climate change strategy of the Western Indian Ocean, where threats like rising sea surface temperatures, ocean acidification, and loss of important ecosystems were highlighted. So these, the findings of this strategy, or the directives of this strategy, stated the development of the regional action plan. So I don't want to go into the details of this, but jumping specifically to ocean acidification, I think this is also not a new term to most of you, though we keep insisting that the ocean has already absorbed around 30% of the carbon dioxide emissions into the atmosphere. And these absorptions have led to the changes in the oceanic chemistry that we are all talking about, which specifically is referred to ocean acidification. Actually, looking on the global trends per decade, those are just normal data, global, where the ocean acidification is happening at that rate. But also looking on the Western Indian Ocean trends, you find more or less similar trends in terms of rate of ocean acidification, which is around 0.015 per decade, not far from the global rates. And of course, the Western Indian Ocean is also facing the same problems as the other parts of the world. The causes are familiar to most of you, but we keep insisting that they are stemming from emission of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, but also we have some local drivers, and in our context, issues related to coastal pollution. And just want to highlight that ocean acidification is a global problem and has no boundaries. So this partly necessitates that addressing it may require combined efforts from national to global levels. And looking like in our country, the impact of ocean acidification specifically on the coral reefs, which contributes to 70% of the small-scale fisheries. But also it's one of the, coral reefs is among the tourism attraction. So with the impacts from ocean acidification already, you can see how this can have on wild countries, and in particular to my country, Tanzania. And those are just the figures from the Mafia Island. No, yes, where reef fishery is very important. And looking at national economic contribution coming to the component of tourism, you can already see that Seychelles is also receiving a quite significant contribution from the tourism sector. And impacts of ocean acidification can have severe impacts on the economy of these coastal states. And looking on the fishing side, you can already see there is a lot of investment already, and yes, in place within the Western Indian Ocean. So those are just figures indicating the distribution of fishing vessels within our waters. So They are all targeting fish and other resources. And if we miss fish already, you can see the impact that is expected within the WIO region. So the development of the action plan focused on, of course, low emission scenario, which is shared socioeconomic pathway 2, which targets minimizing temperature below 2. And of course, one may also decide to take no action. So generally, to conclude on the impact of ocean acidification in the Western Indian Ocean, it will have specifically on food security and the livelihood of coastal communities, which are mostly still depending on coastal and marine resources. And why action plan was developed at regional level, this was a response from the COP decisions 9 and 10, which necessitated or directed that there should be a dedicated roadmap to support the implementation of mitigation measures related to ocean acidification. So again, this regional action plan provides a structured and a coordinated approach for member states within the WIO region to collectively address the impacts of ocean acidification. And again, it's a follow-up to the implementation of climate change strategy. So the action plan is being structured into 6 strategic priorities. So number 1, it focuses on mitigation measures. Number 2, it focuses on understanding of ocean acidification and its impact. Number 3, the action plan focuses on reducing pollution, which are kind of local stressors to ocean acidification. And again, number 4, the action plan focuses on building resilience and adaptation for the affected communities. And then number 5, it focuses on mainstreaming resilience and adaptation measures into policies. And I think the focus of today's discussion is also anchored on number 5, on how we can mainstream the ocean acidification into existing policies, which is currently lacking. And then number 6, the focus area is enhancing collaboration and partnerships at country level, regional, but also global levels. And number 7, it's on resource mobilization. So if you allow me, I can also provide some actions that are proposed on each focus area. For instance, for the issues related to mitigation measures, several actions have been proposed within the action plan. So one of them is promoting transitioning to the renewable energies. I understand some countries are already ahead, but others are still lagging. And also this depends on nature of the country, because others, like my country, Tanzania, most of the energy sources we have are renewable from, but others, just to mention, like South Africa, where they still use some of the coal energies as a source of energy. But another action and such area of focus is to promote the utilization of gas fuels vehicles with the objective of like minimizing the emission of carbon dioxide. Other measures, we know of most of the developing countries have quite a number of carbon sinks, for instance, forests. So the action plan promotes the control of deforestation to enhance the carbon sink potential for most countries. But again, it also, and the same way that it also promotes the conservation and the restoration of carbon sinks. Coming to the second strategic area of advancing understanding of ocean acidification and its impacts, also several actions have been proposed. One is to establish and sustaining monitoring programs. I think it was in 2019 where WIOMSA, this is a regional body, and the Western Indian Ocean initiated the ocean acidification monitoring programs under 6 countries. So we think that building on already established monitoring station can help to advance understanding, but also expanding to other countries that were not part of the initial programs. But also there is a significant lack on information related to the impact of ocean acidification, in particular to marine species that are of mariculture importance. So the action plan emphasizes on the need to conduct experimental studies to understand the impact. But again, this also goes with depends on the, I would say, the environmental settings in terms of infrastructures, which is still also a big challenge to most of the African countries, countries. Another action is to assess the impacts of oceans, socioeconomic impacts of ocean acidification, which are also still unknown. But another action under the same strategic focus area is to build infrastructure capacity to be able to undertake, I would say, experimental studies. I know countries like South Africa are a bit advanced, and but the other countries are still lagging behind. This action emphasizes on the need of having reliable infrastructures to undertake experimental studies. But also there is a question of building capacity for technical capacity for the researchers within the WIO countries to be able to undertake the measurements, but also running experimental studies to understand the impacts. And the last action proposed is also investing on community-based monitoring of ocean acidification, because for instance, in my country, you find quite a number of local communities engaged in mariculture activities, and again, they don't conduct monitoring of the relevant climate-related variables. So we think that possibly having a community-based program can also facilitate or improve understanding of ocean acidification within the WIO region. So coming to strategic area number 3, reducing waterborne air pollution, a number of actions have also been proposed within the action plan. One of them being to, of course, improve the sewage wastewater treatments within the member states, but also implement policies to reduce plastic pollution, strengthening the wastewater management systems, and also promoting sustainable farming practices, especially considering that most of the pollution in the coastal waters are land-based. And also there is also action to raise awareness, because already most of the people, they don't understand the linkages between coastal pollution and the ocean acidification, and again, how themselves impact or contribute to ocean acidification. So there is a specific action dedicated to raise awareness. And again, measures to control pollution within coastal habitats. This may allow the organisms to adapt to the changing water conditions related to ocean acidification. So moving to building resilience and adaptation of affected communities, a number of actions are also proposed. One of them is to promote mariculture of resilient species. Again, understanding of these species needs also to be thoroughly conducted, because apparently, like in my country, farming of mariculture species is just based on experience. And of course, they are still facing quite a number of challenges, which also compromise the productivity of their activities. Another action that is proposed is to raise the awareness.
Hello, sorry.
Yes.
Just a minute, Josh. We are behind schedule. If you could just kindly wrap up quickly so that we allow other presenters.
Okay. Thank you very much. If I will spend more time, but I think what I can say, the action plan is available online, and we are just finalizing to update it. But otherwise, thank you very much for giving this opportunity. I have shared these priority areas for the action plan, and I'm more than happy for during the discussion to hear your thoughts, and if there are any comments that I may require to provide. Thank you very much. Hello?
Thank you very much, George, for that explicit and entertaining presentation. Thank you, George. So next, I would like to introduce Dr. Frédéric Bonou, who is a lecturer and associate professor at the National University of Science and Technology and Mathematics in Benin, leading research on carbon dynamics, sea level rise, and climate intervention strategies. As a researcher at the Benin Institute of Fisheries and Oceanographical Research, he focuses on coastal dynamics, climate geoengineering, ocean acidification, and marine biogeochemistry in West Africa, addressing critical challenges related to climate change. Dr. Frédéric Bonou, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm very honored to present our recent work on CO2 variability in tropical Atlantic Ocean. As you said, I'm a physical oceanographer working on a very wide range of subjects. Within we have ocean acidification. This work is reflect our collaboration within different institutions in Benin, Benin Institute for Fisheries and Oceanological Research, and university and different other institutes. So this is very important, and this contributes to the action of OA Africa and GOA-ON. As you know, the ocean acidification is a growing concern, and it is an important issue related to the climate change. Near 30% of anthropogenic CO2 is absorbed by the ocean. If not, our world will be very warmer due to the global warming condition. This affects ocean, and when this ocean is released into the ocean, most of our reaction lead to combine with the CO2 combined with CO2 with water. This generates carbonate, acid, bicarbonate, hydrogen, and different species of a carbonate system. Here you can see that 1 year ago, in August 2024, we have 422 ppm of concentration in release in the world. But now this range reached 425. So more than 2 ppm just within 1 year. This demonstrates how the CO2 concentration is increasing in the atmospheres. And as you see here, the trend from 1960 to now time, you see that the CO2 concentration continue to increase. And this is an important issue for worldwide. And you see that when the CO2 concentration is released in the ocean, this acidifies the ocean, and this can be demonstrated by the decline of in the trend on the trend of pH here. So, and when this ocean is acidified, what happens? This affects the marine biodiversity, the fishes, starting from phytoplankton, small species, zooplankton, and this also come to the human, because you know that most of human consume fishes. So the health of these species also affect the human. Yeah. So the general objective of this work, that is one of our recent publications, is to investigate the spatio-temporal key CO2 parameter in tropical Atlantic. Specifically, we have quantified the seasonal and interannual variability of CO2 of different CO2 parameters in that region. PCO2, total carbonate dissolved carbon, alkalinity, and CO2 flows. And also is to identify the physical and the biogeochemical driver, the link between this driver, the physical variable, and the carbonate system. And the last one of objective is to assess the climate mode impact and to examine, for example, how the climate mode ENSO, EMO, and NEO can affect the carbon cycle. Here is our region of study. And you can see with different current system. This current system also play an important role in the distribution of CO2 concentration across this whole region. Yes, we will use in this work the surface ocean carbon atlas data. And this data from 1985 to 2022, 4 decades of data have been reconstructed monthly here for all different parameters, PCO2 pressure, CO2 flash, alkalinity, dissolved inorganic carbon, pH, and also the physical parameter like sea surface salinity, sea surface temperature. Yes, we will also combine in this study the chlorophyll, the net primary production, and also the wind from Copernicus marine database. And the climate in this data will also be used in this work that we want to present as our contribution in this region of a tropical Atlantic Ocean. Through this different period of the year, the period from 1985 to 2022, we will firstly average the mean average state over the whole region of tropical Atlantic that I have previously shown in the last map. And then the seasonal study will be conducted by considering the different months for December to January, each 3 months for 4 different seasons. We will use also empirical orthogonal function, that is a mathematical function. I didn't put all the question behind of this assumption here, but the paper is the link to join the paper is there, and if you want, you can see for more detail on how this is conducted, the empirical decomposition. And also we will do some multiple correlation matrices that will correlate CO2 parameters and physical variable and climate mode also. Here, specifically, as most of you have shown during this week that the CO2 increase globally. So this work has been done specifically for the for the tropical Atlantic Ocean. And this show, for example, you can see really clearly that the PCO2 and the PCO2 and the dissolved inorganic carbon keeping growing from since 1985 to now period. So this also showed for the pH that also the pH is declining, is decreasing, demonstrating the ocean acidification of our tropical ocean. The carbon flux also showing also the slight increase also of CO2 flux, demonstrate the outgassing of CO2. Here is a spatial distribution of CO2, and quickly I can say that elevated PCO2 concentration is observed near equatorial region and also the Apolline zone in tropical Atlantic. And also for the flux of the carbon, this shows the mix of CO2 uptake and release at the northern and southern part, while in the equatorial region we have lower values in terms of CO2 flux here. And in terms of alkalinity, that play the role of buffers to counteract the action of acidification of the ocean, is also has a higher value within this region. And the carbon in the dissolved organic carbon that we call here TCO2 also is very lower near the coastal region, demonstrating more biological activity around this region. And the seasonal distribution for each of these variables, for example, here we have PCO2 during different periods, winter, spring, PCO2, autumn. I put the name for different months. For example, for winter, we have December, January, and February, and so on and so on. High PCO2 in winter, spring from equatorial Apolline is observed, and mist pattern in summer and autumn with uptake and release of CO2 is observed. This reflects the seasonal shift in ocean and atmosphere CO2 exchange. In terms of alkalinity, the seasonal variability show the high alkalinity at the southern and also at northern part across the different seasons. And the alkalinity also influence the fresh water zone, like the zone of Amazon plume and the zone of Niger River zone, that demonstrates showing the lower value of alkalinity in that region.
Just quickly, Frédéric, you have just 2 minutes to go. Just want to let you know.
Okay, so this is the different seasonal variability for the FCO2 there, that's showing, for example, the winter. I will not lose a lot of time because the paper, I will put the link there. So here's the link between the salinity and alkalinity, and the link between temperature with a different variable of CO2, showing that the sea surface temperature is influencing most of the parameters of CO2. So this is an empirical orthogonal function that also shows the different interannual variability. This shows the spatial distribution of the different pattern of CO2. The most dominant mode that we can have here, you can see that there are some of regions, sub-regions that have positive and or negative anomaly in that region across the years. This has a relationship with the different climate mode. And also here, we have also the matrix of correlation within these different variables. So we can see that Enzo and Nilo show also moderate negative correlation with CO2 parameters, and AMO, that is Atlantic Median or Ocean, show a moderate positive correlation, and now has a weak negative correlation with, here is the paper that you can scan, and in conclusion, we found that we have significant interannual variability and seasonal variability in tropical Atlantic. This has the impact with SST and also the climate mode also depend. Yes, SOCAT data is a database, but we need also to permanent continue to still collecting data to encourage the effort of a regional collection of data. This will improve the model validation, model implementation in order to use for climate scenario to determine the future scenario and the future variability of CO2 variability. That is one fashion that the previous presenter talked about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bonou there from Benin City. So the next presentation should be given by Joseph Chas, Deputy Director of Research and Laboratory at the Environmental Protection Agency of Liberia, and Samuel Kunin, Senior Lecturer and Laboratory Coordinator at the College of Natural and Applied Sciences at the United Methodist University in Liberia. Samuel currently serves as the Research and Outreach Coordinator for the Clean Air Liberia project, and he serves as the Principal Investigator for the global emissions Liberia. Samuel also lectures and coordinates laboratory activities in the College of Natural and Applied Sciences, United Methodist University, where he plays a key role in building the next generation of environmental and marine scientists. His work actively bridges research, training, and public policy to address pressing environmental challenges, including ocean acidification, climate change, and urban air pollution. Mr. Samuel Kunin, the floor is yours.
Okay, hello. Are you with me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you to our moderator, Mr. Sheck Sherif. I'd appreciate a lot. So I will be speaking on bridging science and policy from the Environmental Protection Agency in the United Methodist University Partnership for Ocean Science Education in Liberia by Samuel Koenig Jr., a senior lecturer at the United Methodist University. Can you please turn on my video? Hello?
You'll have to do that yourself. At the bottom of the Zoom panel, there's an icon where you can click Start Video towards the left.
Yeah, it was done from the host. It was done from the host.
Okay, I can try to adjust that, but in the meantime, if you want to keep presenting.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So back to what I was saying, I will be trading you through bridging science and policy in collaboration with the Environmental Protection Agency, Liberia. First, we have to look at the holistic milestones that took place in September 2024. Moreover, hosted the first basic ocean acidification training course for West Africa, co-organized by two entities, the Environmental Protection Agency and the United Methodist University. This groundbreaking event introduced vetted monitoring techniques and sparked regional research collaborations across West Africa. Looking at our coastal belt, Liberia's coastal fisheries at a glance. There are 570 kilometers of our coastal line. Those are active of the kingdom, they are 5,648. The futures are 15,709, and the job supported is about 33,000 plus. Of these things was obtained from the small scale fishery provide 30 to 65% of Liberia's animal protein consumption, making them critical to national food security. Looking at our fishery sector, there are two types. We have the crude fishing sector and the fountain fishing sector. For the crude fishing sector, we look at the indigenous tradition that comprises of seals and paddle, dockot, targeting, snapper, cookot, and that measures using bottom set gill nets and hairlines. There were challenges and challenges along the way side. So from the crude fishing sector, timber scarcity threatens keynote building, giving us 38% in terms of motorized. From our migrant aspects, that has to do with the fountain fishing sector. The Ghanaian fountain farmlets operate, or they are operating with 12 to 20 meter plank canoes with 15 to 20 persons crew since the 1960s. Their target are schooling pelagics, box smoke for inland trade. And these are some of the pectoral evidence that we gathered during our research time. In terms of gender dimension, we are not only looking at the male, we also look at female because they have part to play within the fishing sector. Women in survey, they are about 65%. Women in workforce, they are about 60%. And the featured mongers, they are about 40%. And all of this was obtained from the Environmental Protection Agency and the United Methodist University in terms of research. Despite the economic dominance, women rarely participate in management bodies or price-setting decisions, a critical gap that the EPA and the UMU research tried to address. From our research, both the EPA and the UMU, we were able to come down with a graph in terms of the community perceptions on climate change, because climate change is real. So we have our fish quality in terms of decline. This is the graph. Storm frequency rise, mangrove degradation, sea water temperature rise, sea level rise, and the mass fish mortality. We continue with our research on ocean acidification and wetness. We wanted to know how many persons are aware in terms of knowledge gap. So there are 80% who know about ocean acidification. And in terms of observance, or those who observe local impacts are about 80%. But looking at the remarkable baseline understanding, 4 out of 5 community members can identify ocean acidification and link it to local changes, a testament that they are effective science communication. This hard awareness creates fertile ground for community-driven monitoring and adaptive management strategies. So coming from the strategies, there are 5 interconnected threats. So the first one we look at is the ecological decline, the post-harvest loss, and that of the illegal, unreporting, and unregulating fishing, commonly known as the RUU. Gender disparity and habitat degradation. How can we transform those data into policy action? So we have transforming data into policy action, there are a few steps. One we'll look at is the infrastructure investment. Two, we'll look at the community surveillance. Three, we'll look at the gender responsive programs. And four, we also look at the skill development. So under the skill development of the UMU School of Marine Sciences and the NAFA Center of Excellence, we hit pathway for tertiary trained technicians as we move on to create our workforce. For the gender responsive program, we'll be looking at an investment of 2 million grant window for the women processors to improve Keynes and microcredit line for engine address power imbalance. For the community surveillance, we can look at 150 GPS equipped kennels and community management association called CMAS. And then we can also look at the infrastructure in terms of investment from the Moderators paired complex and satellite clusters with ice planes, traceability, both, and improved Keynes, reduce spoilage, and enhance quality. So in terms of Africa on the ocean acidification, we will also do a model that is from the EPA and the UMU partnership to demonstrate a few things for us. So these are the few outlines we demonstrated for our models for Africa. One, we can look at the community-based research. Two, we can look at the gender-inclusive approaches. Three, we can also look at the regional capacity building. Four, we look at the policy integration. And these are the things that we have focused in. Because looking at transforming the scientific fundings, we need like about $40 million that will come from the World Bank investments. So not to waste all of our time, in terms of the community-based research, we'll be able to generate actionable data on vulnerabilities and adaptation. And then under the gender-inclusive approaches, we can reveal hidden economics and decision-making gaps, because it is one of our biggest challenges. From the regional capacity building, we go through training courses, amplifiers, and impact. On this note, I want to say thank you and thanks to the organizers and thanks to our moderator, Mr. Sheck Sherif. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel Koenig from the United Methodist University, and also Joseph Chas for putting that explicit and great presentation together. So Koenig, can you please stop sharing your screen so we move forward? Thank you very much. So our last speaker is Antonin Akpan, Mr. Antonin Akpan, the founder and president of Pan-African Vision for the Environment, PAVE, in Nigeria. Anthony is a human development and public policy specialist with a BSc in applied chemistry and postgraduate studies diploma in water management and specialization in water services management, with over 20 years of sector experience in human ecology and sustainable development issues. So PAVE is our United Nations Environment Program and United Nations Convention to combat desertification accredited Lagos-based non-profit, non-political, non-governmental organization established with the aim of promoting sustainable development through research, documentation, policy dialogues, workshop, advocacy, and consultancy services. You are welcome, Mr. Akpan. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here. Let me share my screen. I hope you can see my screen clearly.
Yes, you'll just need to start the slideshow.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here to also add to the discussion ongoing, and kudos to earlier presenters. What I'll be looking at, because what we've been talking about, there's been a lot of scientific discussion around ocean acidification and very less policy discussion and the connection. The last presenter tried to make some, show some engagement of policy dialogue, scientific policy dialogue connections, and why you need to bring in society. And we saw some of those highlighted interconnections with the society, which is key. So mine, I'll be looking at the need for more targeted advocacy on why we need to mainstream ocean acidification into national policies in Nigeria and West Africa, which currently is not existing. The aim will be to facilitate targeted advocacy on mainstreaming ocean acidification into national policy in Nigeria, and specific objective for doing this will be to advocate for the mainstreaming of ocean acidification in national policies in Nigeria and West Africa, raise stakeholder awareness on ocean acidification in Nigeria and West Africa. And because for you to engage government and for them to see the need for them to begin to articulate a policy issue, the people, the stakeholders beyond scientists need to buy in and understand what the issue, and then government policy makers will begin to want to take action at a policy level. So there's great need for more stakeholder awareness on ocean acidification, just like the last speaker mentioned. This is really key. And by engaging policymakers, scientists, early career ocean professionals, local communities, villages, and the general public on the growing threat posed by ocean acidification, as well as local action that can be taken to address this. We also need to facilitate national campaign and a roadmap towards mainstreaming ocean policy, national policy in Nigeria, following action that prevent or slow ocean acidification, reducing atmospheric efficient, reducing input of land-based pollutant, and other measures, including the implementation of action to assist ocean-dependent communities, industries, and marine ecosystem to adapt to increasing acidity in marine waters. There's also need for sustained funding nationally and regionally for ongoing, enhanced, and coordinated research and ocean acidification observation system to continue to inform about the increasing impact of ocean acidification. And more importantly, not to leave anyone behind, there's also need to mainstream gender in ocean acidification. Particularly, we've seen the lack of gender in most of the maritime and ocean issues, ocean sciences. So there's need to particularly drive this gender action critically. And among the activities, we think, because there's no need to reinvent the wheel, some other countries have already have put in place ocean acidification policies. So it's just for us to learn, just like what Joseph, I can't remember his name right now, from Tanzania, presented on the Ocean Action Plan, Western Indian Ocean are put together. We begin to look at this and see how we begin to implement them. For you to implement them, you need advocacy. So again, some of the activities we will require will be advocacy and awareness capacity building workshops and seminars for various stakeholders to understand ocean acidification in Nigeria and West Africa. Also, for more engagement of stakeholders, they need to have traveling exhibitions where you can exhibit impact of ocean acidification, as an exhibition among different stakeholders, where the general public can also visit and see the devastating impact of ocean acidification. Also, radio shows, including talk shows on important radio stations to further highlight, because people really suffering this impact, are people living at the front line, and general food insecurity, it contributes impacting on fisheries and all of that. So you need the discussion to get to the grassroots, and most of our grassroots listen via radio. That's where our fisher folks are. So also need to have this kind of engagement and discussion on environment relevant and talk shows on a local radio station in all of these countries. Again, there's also the need for us to look at policy review. What are the current, for countries that have, for example, ministries of marine and blue economy, fisheries, related ministries, how do you mainstream this climate change and all of this? How do you begin to look at these policies and begin to see how they can be reviewed, and how ocean acidification can be incorporated in national policies and legislative frameworks in Nigeria? Because you need to institutionalize it for it to take the necessary effect, and you need the work of civil society organizations to drive this advocacy. So we think, we think that the ocean acidification policy advocacy that is needed in Nigeria and West Africa will also advocate that by incorporating ocean acidification monitoring and research recommendations across relevant policy and management frameworks, government, science, and community partners have announced that it's also going to take inventory of regional, local knowledge and observation of climate, ocean change. It will help to develop a more comprehensive approach to climate risks, preparedness, mitigation, and adaptation. Better integrate activities across climate, ocean, and coastal policy management, strengthen the connection between science, community priorities, and effective ocean coastal management in the one region. Prioritize information to determine adaptive capacity of critical species and increase ecosystem service resilience. Strengthen public and private funding for climate, ocean mitigation, adaptation, and resilient projects. And more importantly, support implementation, existing climate, ocean, and coastal commitment across the UNSDG agenda, UNFCCC, the biodiversity, blue economy, and other applicable frameworks. More conclusively, so we think mainstreaming ocean acidification into national policies in Nigeria and West Africa presents a practical way of coping with changes and uncertainties in climate, including variability and extremes, reducing vulnerability and promoting sustainable development, particularly in coastal communities in Nigeria and West Africa generally. Thank you very much for giving me audience. I appreciate it. I wait questions and clarification. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akpan. I think that was very breathtaking and completes our charge as to how we can turn science into policy for the general good of the overall population of countries across the region. So now I will, can you please stop sharing your screen, Mr. Akpan? Thank you very much. I will now turn it over to Roshan to moderate our Q&A session. Dr. Roshan?
Yep. Okay. Thank you very much, Sheck, for this very nice introduction and fantastic speakers we had. And well, we'll like to thank George, Frédéric, Samuel, and Anthony for, again, bringing out some of our work in Africa as well. Well, anyway, these are very important aspects, especially the science behind it and trying to translate science into policy, which is not quite easy, but I think George did very well with the Nairobi Convention with his strategic ocean action plan as well. and very important aspects in terms of monitoring by Frédéric with physical oceanography, and especially we have had a very interesting paper that he published as well, and both Anthony and Samuel as well talking about policy and database as well. Well, maybe I may have, I don't know whether we have a question that we can take from the audience. I don't know if we have anything. I don't see anything, but maybe you can put all four your camera on, and I may ask one question, which can be like, how do you see, and you can make a comment on that. What do you foresee in the future? I mean, how effective can the science that you're making be translated to policy in your respective country? Because usually you can go to the various conventions, but how is this science uptake effective in your country? Maybe I will start with George. I mean, especially he's been working in the regional aspects, Western Indian Ocean. Maybe you can talk about the regional aspect as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Roshan, for such a wonderful question. But first and foremost, I think I would like to acknowledge that uptake of science in most of developing countries is a big challenge. So with that in mind, I think there might be some strategic approaches that we might need as scientists to employ so that to reach them and push them and ensure that they move in the direction of making decisions which are informed by science. And again, there is an inherent challenge of the subject itself. Ocean acidification is something complex. I haven't even managed to translate in my local language. But apparently, I think one of the best approaches is to reach to them, to raise their awareness, and show them really the impact of ocean acidification on their on their plans and development agendas. And by doing that, possibly they might understand the complexity of the issue and possibly undertake the necessary action.
Yep. Thank you very much. Maybe Frédéric can have his comments on that, especially that the ocean acidification has crossed is now the 7th planetary boundary which has been exceeded, especially this year. I mean, this is a very major crisis, I think. So what would be your takeaway on this? Frédéric?
Yes, yes, I think that is important to make the relationship between policy and science. Yeah, because some the time what scientists are doing in the different laboratory, most of people doesn't know, and also yeah, this come as you see through the publication, and most of this guy doesn't read don't read well our paper, and that's why I think that is important to organize like some seminar, some conferences where policymakers, those who don't know anything about the ocean, can be invited and discuss about the ocean. And also I agree with the use of language, because sometimes the language that our scientists use, yeah, all those guys does not they don't really understand this. That's why we have to really think on how we have to translate all that to make them understand well what we are doing in science area. I think it's very important to combine science and police, yeah, yeah, in terms of this subject related to the ocean acidification, marine pollution.
Yep. Thank you very much. I mean, especially these are very important questions, and COP30 is ahead as well. So maybe these are where NDC reports have to be submitted. And especially we have the triple planetary crisis with biodiversity, pollution, and all the various aspects. So thank you. I'll move on to Samuel as well for some of his comments and what does he foresee in the future. Back to you, Samuel.
Hello.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Can you please come again?
Yeah, you heard the question?
No.
No, I was wondering how do you see the science policy uptake? I mean, how do you uptake science uptake in your country, in your region? Because we're talking about science policy action plan and so on. How effective do you think your government or in the region, they will understand what you're doing? I mean, how easy is that? I mean, what are the challenges you're facing?
Okay, thank you. Most research that has been done within our institution, we are private, from the private background, so we don't have the finance in carrying on implementation. So that was the reason why we partnered with the government from the Environmental Protection Agency, because when we put the theory to paper and there's no policy, it will be of nothing. So we partnered with the Environmental Protection Agency, at least to be able to give us or to strengthen the policies that we will take from the science towards the government. Because the government and is the one that have the funds to support whatever discovery that will be done from the research. Because from our perspective, we are responsible to conduct research and come up with findings. But we don't have the policy in our hand. The government is the one that have the policy in our hand. So we have to involve them in this process. Putting the government in this process or involvement in the process, at least it will give us time, it will give us opportunity to build our country in terms of ocean acidification. Because looking at the ocean, bulk of oxygen that we breathe comes from the ocean. So if you could remember in one of my slides, I said when it comes to awareness, they are 80%. But the problem is, in terms of carrying on implementation, we need policy driven. And we can only do that to the strength of the government. Without the government, we can't do anything because we are from the private sector. We don't have enough resources. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, very much. I think the recognition of the scientists is quite important and valuable and has to be enhanced so that you can advance policy as well. Thank you. And maybe to Anthony now, I mean, you've been talking about policy as well. Maybe you have a good background or aspect of how it is easy to work out policy in West Africa. So maybe you can have a comment on that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Roshan. I think for us, we are not a governmental agency. We are an NGO, and we rely on availability of funding to be able to carry out our activities, and but just like other speakers have said, the issue of ocean acidification is a complex science that needs to be broken down in a very simplistic. That's why you saw in my presentation some of the activities we propose. If you organize an exhibition where you have photographs and pictures of the impact of ocean acidification, local people can be able to connect. They can immediately understand by seeing those pictures, coral reef erosion and all those kind of things. They can easily connect, and you can tell them, oh, this is caused by ocean acidification due to climate change and all of that. You can begin to use those kind of common activities, radio show discussions, road show, common activities that people can go on, break it down science to the level of the society. We are all scientists. We can easily understand these issues. But the common man, most of the policymakers that we want to take action are not scientists. They are there by virtue of political affiliation. They just tell you, oh, you are sent to Minister of Science as the minister. You are sent to Minister of this. They don't have those background. So there's need for these simplifying these scientific information and discussion in a very, very in a way that everybody can understand, to the level that the man on the street can understand. Like I mentioned, using exhibition and doing all these pictures, art, and all this kind of thing. You know, so it's a call to action that I want to give to the GOA-ON Secretariat, particularly the West African Hub, you know, and Gulf of Guinea Hub, to begin to take action and carry out some of these and supporting action in some of these kind of local communication initiatives like this. You know, we can take lead in some of these activities like we have presented. You know, the GOA-ON Secretariat needs to begin to support advocacy-related activities for people to begin to understand why actions need to be taken against oceanification. Then our ministries of environment and others will now understand the issue and begin to make budgetary provision, because if they don't understand the issue, they cannot make budgetary provision for addressing these issues in the budget. Ordinarily, the Ministry of Environment is suffering because they don't have enough budget, because they don't understand the environmental issues. If you break down the issues to the extent that they understand that we cannot exist without the environment, then more allocation will be given to all the necessary agencies to drive the issue. I'll give you a typical example. The Nigerian Institute of Oceanography and Marine Research is suffering from funding. You know, they don't even have a functional vessel to go to the sea to do investigation and things like that. You know, so the only way we can help this issue is breaking down the issues, carry out sufficient advocacy, and calling, based on this, government will now say the importance of this issue. Oh, if you don't address ocean acidification, you will not have more fish. You have these kind of issues, that this will happen, then they will be able to take action, you know. So I'm really appealing to the GOA-ON Secretariat and particularly the Gulf of Guinea Hub to begin to carry out practical action. You know, we can send in our this is our presentation, can lead on some of these advocacy issues alongside other presenters and the Secretariat. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Anthony.
Anthony.
Sorry, Roshan, we did get one question in the chat, if you want me to read that out.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah. Okay, so this is a question specific for George. What are the plans or next steps for disseminating and encouraging the implementation of the West Indian Ocean Action Plan within the member states? Yeah, great work on this effort.
Thank you for the question from Cara Edwards. Actually, after we were waiting for the endorsement of the action plan, which has been complete. So the next step is to undertake dissemination activities, but also encouraging the implementation of the WIO action plan within member states. And to start with, I think we'll have a specific session during the upcoming COP, where we will present the action plan, and we want to believe during that time most of the member states will be there and we will target them, but also potential, I would say, partners from around the globe who can support the implementation of the action plan will be our primary target. So now, since we have the tool already, then it's our duty to ensure that it's being implemented and to achieve the goals and the missions within that action plan.
Thanks for that answer, George, and thank you, Roshan, for leading that last discussion section. I think a great closing question for all the panelists to have answered. And I think we are turning it over to Nayrah Shaltout next to close us out. Oh, you're on mute, Nayrah.
Thank you. Thanks for all the panelists, for everyone, for the GOA-ON Secretariat for this very, very informative and great session. Thank you for all the information, for sharing your expertise, and for giving us an idea as to how to merge and to join the science and to explain it and to speak it in a very, very simple and understandable way to the policy to get our ocean acidification research reached to the policy for action. Actually, I enjoyed very much for everyone presentation. Our panelists have eliminated the progress, challenges, and pathways needed to advance ocean acidification action across our continent, from scientific understanding to meaningful policy response. From Western Indian Ocean, George gave us the priority action, interpreted the priority actions emerging from Western Indian Ocean Acidification Action Plan, highlighting the importance of regional frameworks that connect monitoring, capacity building, and policy uptake. This example shows the structured collaborative planning. How can it be effectively translate scientific evidence into coordinated regional action? From Benin, Dr. Frédéric emphasized the importance of policy development and regional coordination through shared data systems, harmonized indicators, and collective advocacy. A unified continental voice will amplify Africa's presence in global climate and ocean negotiation. The experience from Liberia demonstrated how national institutions can bridge science and policy through partnership, like what's happened between the university and the Environmental Protection Agency collaboration. This model shows that when academia and government work hand in hand, ocean science becomes a tool for informed policy decision and local action. Finally, from the West Africa, Mr. Anthony showed a well-established example of the power of advocacy and civil society engagement. Policies gain real traction only when communities, youth, and NGOs are empowered to hold systems accountable and translate regional vision into local action. So, to sum up some recommendations, there's a great need to strengthen the regional coordination and building on existing regional frameworks such as the Western Indian Ocean Action Plan and the GOA-ON Africa Hub to harmonize monitoring efforts, share knowledge, and promote joint advocacy. There is a need for science policy interfaces by encouraging national government to establish formal mechanisms linking research institutions, environmental ministers, and regional bodies for continuous policy feedback and co-production of knowledge. There is also a need to integrate ocean acidification into national and regional policy by embedding ocean acidification within the climate strategies, fisheries management plans, and nationally determined contributions, ensuring it is recognized as a key climate ocean issue. Enhance capacity and infrastructure by supporting training programs, data sharing platforms, and access to monitoring equipment and certified reference materials, particularly for countries with emerging ocean acidification programs. Mobilize funding and partnership through the International Climate Finance Mechanism and private sector partnership to sustain long-term ocean acidification monitoring and response strategies. We are in a bad need to empower communities and civil society to promote education, awareness, and advocacy campaigns that link ocean acidification to food security, livelihood, and local resilience. In conclusion, today's discussion underscores the science provides the foundation, but policy and collaboration drive the transformation. The ocean connects us, and so must our response Let us commit to turning these insights into tangible actions that safeguard Africa's blue heritage and African Ocean, the coastal area, our resources for generations to come. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for our panelists, and thanks for the participation from the participants and attendants for contributing to this vital dialogue and for your ongoing dedication to advance ocean acidification in Africa. Thank you all.
Thank you, Nayrah. We really appreciate all the moderators and speakers today for putting on a great session. And as we wrap up, we just want to let the audience know that there are a handful more sessions of OA Week left today, which you can find information about using the QR code on the left. In just 30 minutes, there will be a session on multiple stressors and marine organism response, followed by the Latin American Ocean Acidification Hub session and one on technology and sensor development. And you can also find more information about GOA-ON membership and joining the OA Africa Hub on the right. And with that, I will just once again thank all of the audience for attending, and we hope to see you at another GOA-ON event in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney, and thanks everyone. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Nayrah, thanks. All of the speakers, many thanks.
One.
Thank you.